could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. Hey, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted. You know, hey, you could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. Hopes and dreams, every boy. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
Good morning and welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live from Armenia, Quindio, Colombia. Colombia, spelled with O's, not U's. Excuse me. Okay, let's see. Today's weather. It's about 75 degrees right now. We're going to have a high of 79 with a low about 5 o'clock in the morning of about 61 degrees. It's a refreshingly cooler day, which is nice because we've been having these intermittent warm spells. And I will remind you that in the chat, there is a 30-second delay. So if you enter a chat, you cannot enter another one for 30 seconds. That delay is from something that happened a while back, and it's a safety precaution. The chat is not broken. You just have to wait 30 seconds, and then you can enter another chat. Okay, I saw something, never seen it before to this extent here in Colombia. So I had to take a little video clip of it somewhere. Where is it? There it is. It was amazing. Sound was different. Let me just show you. Never seen so much fog here. Or clouds. You know, we're of an altitude where the clouds will actually come over if it's a low flying cloud, and it'll appear to be like fog. I don't know which this was, but that was like 10 o'clock in the morning. Usually when you have fog, it's ground level and the sun burns it off. This was about 10 o'clock in the morning, so the sun had been out for a while. I think we just got hit with a cloud. And then it cleared up pretty quickly around, I think it was around 11. Okay, let's see. Today I've got a number of individual topics. I don't have one general theme. although you may pick up a theme or two as I go over these topics. Let's see. Let's run down the chat. Juka, thank you. I appreciate the contribution. Jerry, Anonymous, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Juka, greetings from Finland, land of NATO. I'm kind of curious. I know this is Colombia, but I'm curious to know how much support there was for NATO, joining NATO, how much were against it. And, well, I guess I don't want to go into it, but I'm just fascinated by the concept of that. Let's see. Oh, from me, I sent out 4 cups of coffee. I only had one today, but I only ever have one in a day. Let's see. We've got John, morning from Seattle. How you doing? I'm certain you're used to a lot of fog. Mike, big game test today. Miami in town. Yeah, but where would you rather be than right here, right now? I'm excited for it. It is a big test. You know, it's interesting watching. I checked a couple sports shows and to just see what just for the Miami Buffalo game. So it's usually just a few minutes, but it was interesting to hear them try to make predictions when the truth is no one really knows. No one knows how it's going to go. They keep talking about the 70 points that Miami made, but I actually watched most of that game. I didn't see the beginning of it, but I watched most of that game. And if you watch that game, it's clear why they made so many points. It's like they were the only team on the field. Denver just gave up. So, you know, I give them credit, but I don't give them 70 points worth of credit. I think any decent team would have seen that same collapse. It was, I don't know what the heck's going on in Denver, but it's not good. Mike, how you doing? Turtle message retracted. Yeah, well, I could see that. Tex Blue Jeans, good morning from San Jose. Guaviari. Gary, good morning all. How you doing, Gary? Turtle, good morning from Bucaramanga. I'm going to be talking about you a little bit later in what might be considered a theme. Okay, let's see. Oh, bunch more here. William, how you doing, William? Happy to hear that your visa is straightened out. So that's good. He was worried about it. Coleman, hello from Seattle. Man, you just bounce around. He sent me a message wanting to know how I watch live football. And I did a video on it, God, probably 5 years ago. But it's an app you can download called Kodi. And then it's a shell. And then into that, you can download an app for live NFL football. It's completely free. And you find out, don't ask me, go to YouTube and just do a search of downloading Kodi, and then do a search of how to watch live NFL football on Kodi. And it'll give you step-by-step instructions. It's a hell of a lot easier now than it was 7-8 years ago. NB90, buenos dias, how you doing? John C, buenos dias for Cerritos. Juca in Parliament for NATO. 188 for, 8 against. Holy moly. Do you think that's representative of the population? I mean, sometimes not so much. Okay, let's see. What do we got here? All right, first of all, I mentioned the coffee meeting. I went again. I've been to every one, and it was fun again. We talk about all kinds of things. We basically, over the course of a couple hours, solve all the problems of the world. And this was me going to coffee. Now you're going to see something horribly wrong with the video. Maybe one of these days I'll tell you about it. But take a look.
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to a brighter day. Don't you know it feels good to be alive? You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Yeah, and times are changing everywhere. Do we dream and do we dare? It's up to you, the door is open wide. Feel the rhythm of today, learn the part and join the play. The world is here, let's take it for a ride. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted, shoot the moon and reach for Mars. You know you could. Larger, larger than, bigger, bigger than, living hopes and dreams. Every boy and girl, higher, higher than, brighter, brighter than, all you wanted, you know. You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever
I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know.
Okay, Robert, good morning from Montreal, Canada. Little known fact, I was actually born about 100 miles north of Montreal from my French-born mother. And she was visiting some relatives, and I came early, and I was born in essentially amounted to a cabin. A couple weeks later, they took me back across, and in those days, there was no border. You could just go back and forth to Canada. There was no border check, and I didn't get a birth certificate until I was 5. Okay, William Hutchinson, no visa worries for 2 years. Yeah, that's kind of bizarre. Something we got to talk about that. I need to know something about that. His dudeness abides. Okay, that's crosstalk. That's cool. Opinion polls 80% for NATO. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, we got that. Let's get on with the first item. Some of these will go quick. Some I need to talk about. John Swicky, first IKEA opened in Colombia, in Bogota. Okay. It's Sweden, isn't it? Okay. This guy. Now, I'm asked fairly often over the last few years, is biking much of a thing here? And I'm telling you it is, and that's why I grabbed this headline. There's biking stories all the time. It's not unusual to have roads closed because there'll be one biking tournament or another. And let's see. And this guy, he's from here. This was a national, I don't know what you call it. It's like 10 or 12 legs to it, and it goes across the country, and the legs are broken up. His leg was 143.7 kilometers. So that's quite a hike. And it was all mountain. And this guy's 18 years old. He's from here, and he won leg number 8. The race is, I don't think it's finished, or maybe it finishes today. And it's supposed to finish, I believe, in Medellin, but I'm not sure. But yes, biking is a thing. And there's not a weekend that goes by, Saturday and Sunday. If you go out on the road from Pareda to Armenia, you'll see bikers in groups all the time. Even the road to Salento, which would be one hell of a tough ride. I would say you got to be pro level, but you see bikes there all the time. Renee, how you doing? Hi from NATO headquarters in Brussels. This is the NATO channel, NATO all the time. The weather is hotter than Pareda, less rain. Traffic is okay, but little taxi service. In-drive much better. I love it here. Hotter than Pareda. Woo! And Pareda's too hot for me. Yeah, we know you're in Seattle. We said that. Okay. So that was the bike. What's next? Birds. Birds. Seems like a lot of people are interested in it. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But this was a headline. No plans for this weekend. Get to know some of the ideal places for bird watching. And it proceeded to list 5 national sanctuaries. Yeah, parks. I guess they're sanctuaries here in Quindio. They're huge swaths of Colombia are set aside just to be left natural. And we've got 5 good size areas here in Quindio, and they're pointing it out. And they also point out that in Quindio, there's 500 different species of birds that are known. And it wasn't but a month or so ago, somebody discovered one that they thought was long extinct. And it turns out that they spotted one. So I guess if you're into it, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Where's Waldo, but I don't know. Whatever you're into. I mean, I'm just happy that you have something to sink your teeth into. A lot of people come here with when they move here, they come here with really nice cameras and long lenses, and they're not sure where to go. So take a look at this article. I posted it up on the Adventures in Grand Colombia Facebook page. So you can go there and it'll list off the 5, I believe it was 5 sanctuaries that you can go to. Of course, you can also just step out on your balcony and see sometimes too, but there's that. Let's see. All right, we did the birds. This is new and kind of interesting. The long-awaited, I didn't even know it was happening, Salento cable car would be a reality and would depart from the Posada Alamania area, which is the burned out hotel that Carlos later created. And it was a big thing in the 80s, and thousands of people would go there. And then it got blown up and burnt down, and he ended up in prison. He's still in Europe, last I knew. He was released a couple years ago from his sentence. So he was in prison for quite some time. Apparently, they're going to turn this. If you if you live here, you've been here, you probably know where I'm talking about. It's at the Breda, Armenia road entrance going to Salento, right on top of the hill, just past, coming from Armenia, just past the turnoff. You've got all these burned out buildings, and it's going to be parking, and the cable car will start there and go down into Salento. They're saying that it's going to take 1 year to construct this. It's about a little over 2 miles long. Seems like forever on the road, but the road is like this winding snake. But if you straighten it out, apparently it's just 2 miles. And pretty fascinating. I hope they do some other things there. I hope that they set up kind of a museum or a little tour with explanation of that part of Armenia's history, and then jump on the cable car and go to Salento. I think that would be awesome. Buddy of Pablo Escobar. More than a buddy. He actually was an equal partner of Pablo Escobar, and he was the reason that that drug trade became so huge, because he was a pilot, and he came up with the idea of creating flights. And then he bought an island midpoint between Colombia and the United States, set up a long runway so he could use bigger airplanes, put up large buildings or warehouses. They said it was one of the busiest airports in the Caribbean, because every handful of minutes there'd be a plane landing or taking off. So it was pretty crazy, and they could fly in under the radar. Now, eventually that got quashed, but it went from a relatively small operation with people muling in drugs and that chapter to this massive logistical operation. But he kind of backed out of it, and he kind of wanted to just he loved the limelight, and he kind of wanted to just fade away. But you really can't, when you live that life, you can't do it. He holds double citizenship. Yes, his parents were born in Germany. Father was a pretty famous architect, actually. And so his parents were born in Germany, so he retained the German citizenship, but he was also, being born here, he was a Colombian citizen. And Colombia didn't really want him back. And so Germany said, okay, fine. So, there's that. Where was I? Oh, the cable car. So hopefully, I think they start construction in January. So January of 2025, it should exist. Okay. Now this is one of those things that I think qualifies the theme. But this is also pretty good information for those that live here or want to live here. In Colombia, can tenants prohibit translations are weird sometimes. Can landlords prohibit their tenants from having pets in the home? Now, I'm going to tell you something that I bet you didn't know. It is a constitutional right written into the Constitution that you can own a pet. Therefore, you cannot be declined an apartment or house, renting a place that excludes pets. So in other words, you want to rent a pet and you got a dog. Yeah, I'm asked all the time, well, I have trouble. Of course you won't have trouble. It's a constitutional right. They don't do it. However, there was a recent ruling because you had people with unruly dogs that kind of go crazy and want to attack people, bark at 1 o'clock in the morning and they don't shut up. And so it's the owner's responsibility to mitigate these situations. And if not, then it does come to a point where you can be put out. But if you've got a dog that behaves itself, or you're able to control the dog so it behaves itself, or cat, and doesn't cause problems, then nobody can stop you from having it. And even if it has a flare up of some issue or another, there's a process to work through it. It doesn't mean, okay, dog bark, people are annoyed, you're out of here. And no, he's got to go through a process. So I thought it was pretty interesting. And part of what makes it a theme is that such a nice looking dog. Man, I need me a dog again. I remember when Turtle, who's on here, moved to Manizales. And I remember talking to him about, I don't remember where I was, if it was live or a call or what. I think it was live. I think I was in Manizales visiting him. But I remember him saying that you can judge a society by how they treat their pets. And he talked about that a little bit. And it never occurred to me before, but he made an impression on me about that topic. And even though I'd never thought of it before, I think he was onto something. And then he pointed out how in Manizales, there's leash laws and everybody takes care of them, and you don't really have street dogs. And if they carry, if they go out and walk their dog, they use little plastic baggies to clean up after them. And it is quite impressive in Manizales. And here in Armenia, I'll say in the north, because there's some street dogs down in the south, but in the north, you see the same thing. But there's also a theme that I will contrast with Ecuador. In Ecuador, people talked about pets all the time. But like, oh, you got to take care of them. The poor little doggy. But it was all lip service from most people. And the reason there were so many street dogs in Cuenca, for example, is people would get the cute little puppies, and as soon as they got a little bigger and they're having to go through a lot of food and they weren't all that cute anymore, they just kick them out in the street. And so you had hundreds of street dogs running around Cuenca until the mayor decided to go out at 2:00 in the morning, round them up and have them euthanized. But so there was a lot of talk about it there, but it didn't show in action. You didn't see that care. You just heard the words. And in Colombia, you constantly hear people talk about their love for animals, but you also constantly see it. And I've thrown some of the headlines up in the past where, maybe some animal was mistreated in some small little burg, but it becomes a headline and everybody's talking about it. And they're talking about it, the poor animal. I mean, it's a real thing here. And to the point where they write into the Constitution that it's your constitutional right to have a dog or a cat. I mean, I don't think you get much more serious than that. I would have loved to heard the arguments around that constitutional convention. Turtle, equally impressive in Bucaramanga. We have our mascotas. Yeah, I didn't consider that very much when I was there. My plate was full. I only had 5 days there. But I did notice the lack of street dogs and dogs on leashes in some areas where I was walking. A lot of where I was walking, it was just so many people, so much traffic. There were more commercial areas. You didn't see it so much. Another thing is most restaurants will allow you to bring your dog, let it lay down at your feet. And I won't say all, because I'm sure there's some that that maybe don't want that, but for the most part, you never really see any problem. And another thing here is you almost never hear of dog biting. Uh, it's dogs seem to have a really mellow temperament here, despite the breed. And that's kind of taken me back. It's kind of blown me away because it's something I never expected. But the more you see it, the more you realize, I don't know, there's something in the water, which that's what's in my cup today is cold water. Okay, so that's the doggy. Now, we're coming up on, I can't believe it's happened so fast. We're already up to another anniversary year for Armenia. It seems like I just talked about it, but here's the headline. Armenia, 134 years, color, music, art, sports, and more at the anniversary parties. Again, I posted up on Adventures in Grand Colombia on the Facebook page. This headline, and if you scroll down, you'll find the photos of the itinerary. There's a handful of things going on every day, and it starts on October 2nd, tomorrow, and it runs until October 16th. So there'll be a lot for you to check out, but there are a couple key highlights. First of all, again, something I'm not into, but I know a lot of people are. And this year, they've put a lot of time and expense into this. Art takes over the city of Armenia, and the old railway station tunnel will be the epicenter of the event. Hopefully, they clean that tunnel up. But there's a history of this train that ran in and around Armenia. I get the impression that some of it was almost subway. Like, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't really subway, but there was a lot of train operation throughout the country, and Armenia was known for it. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Transito DMV in Armenia, it's the old train station, which is a fascinating old building. Probably built in the 30s, be my guess. Well, this art exhibition that's taking place is going to take place at 5 different areas related to the trains, historical trains, including that tunnel throughout Armenia. And again, if you go to the headline in the Adventures in Grand Colombia Facebook page, you'll find the route that it goes to. So if you're interested in going to see art, it's featuring 48 different artists. A lot of the work will be for sale. And I understand there's a lot of very talented artsy people that live around here. Enough so that they put together a rather expensive deal for this anniversary. And they're also they're bringing in a lot of police security to make sure that all these different sites are protected. Because a couple of them are in areas that I won't say are necessarily dangerous, but if you got some event going on, maybe you get an influx of pickpockets because they live 2 blocks away. And in one of them, in one of the sites, it's not the prettiest part of town. It looks pretty shabby, run down, although the people there in that particular area were very nice. I've walked through there a few times. They're always very nice. But they're making great pains to make this thing safe and successful. And so if you're into art, I think that's something you'd be interested in. And now for the rest of us, you might remember a couple of weeks ago, I put up a little video clip with, I think, 11 gorgeous babes. that are vying for the title of Quindio Queen. Well, there they are. And on the 16th of October, they are going to have a little deal with them, and they will decide the winner. Now, prior to that, on the 14th and on the 15th, they're going to have the parade. And the parade is the biggest parade of the year. It goes on forever. And the Jeep-Pow, the Jeeps, with all their whirly-gig actions, and it's pretty comical, funny, entertaining, a lot of skill, actually. All of that's going to be taking place. And of course, during that parade, a couple days before the final decision, you'll see the girls paraded by on various pageant floats or on Jeeps or whatever, you know, with their sash, talking about the comuna or the barrio that they're representing. So, so that's pretty cool. I'm forgetting something. Oh, on the memorized everything, but I almost forgot one item. On the 14th is when the parade takes place. However, it's also a day of a solar eclipse. And so there's a caution that they may change the day of the parade, given a lot of prior notice to the people involved in the parade, of course, and the police and the route changes. I can't imagine what kind of nightmare it'll be to change it. They're concerned about people looking at the eclipse and damaging their eyes. And I think, personally, I think you just tell people and it'll be fine. But, I mean, you never know. And so it's possible the parade won't be on the 14th, but not very likely. I think that's more a few people hypothesizing, but not really, it's not really going to change. That'd be my guess. So it's going to be a big 2-week event. Take advantage of at least the parade. If you're into art, you're going to love it. And last item I have, and how we doing for time? Where are we? Oh, pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. Before I get to the last item, there was an incident where an old lady was mauled recently. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not ever going to happen. It's not possible. What I'm saying is, for example, when I lived in North Carolina, there was hardly a day that went by when you didn't hear about some apartment complex having a kid eaten by a pit bull. Okay, little exaggeration, but it was such a common thing. When I lived in New York and various places I've lived, it was not uncommon. In Ecuador, all the expats were always on Facebook asking, how do I defend myself against these street dogs? And they'd say, well, put lemon juice in a squirt gun. And they would come up with all these different things to protect themselves, because the dogs were hungry and angry, and you know, they're just not socialized, just kind of kicked to the curb. And here they're shown so much love and affection that I think that extends to other people. Beating a dog here is extremely rare. It happens. Abusing an animal is extremely rare, but it happens. So yeah, so I'm not saying it doesn't, but the exception doesn't disprove the rule. And the rule here is those things are very rare as compared to other places I've lived, and I've talked to other people that claim the same. So I feel pretty confident in what I'm saying. And besides, you just walk around and you see it. You see dogs that, you know, they're on a leash, but they'll come up to you and they're friendly, and you don't see ever any owners having to hold them back and wanting to attack another dog, and you just don't see that. John, coming to Armenia October 8th. Cool. Good timing. Turtle, sorry about the misspells. I didn't notice. True, just adding to the notion, animal incidents are quite rare. Yeah. Okay. Last item. Where are we? Colombia. I got this morning. Mike sent it to me. Colombia is one of the countries with the greatest growth potential in tourism in Latin America. And he sent it to me, and I'm thinking, yeah, okay, well, that's cool. Kind of knew that. But he had a couple things in there. This year, for the first 6 months of the year, there's been 3.5 million tourists coming from outside the country to visit Colombia. That surprised me. We're not talking Venezuelans. We're talking coming from Europe, from Spain, different places to visit Colombia. I didn't realize that number had gotten so large. And they're saying that by the end of this year, based on the track record so far, and we've only got a couple months left, they're saying by the end of the year, they're going to finish up at 7.5 million people visiting Colombia. Okay, so that's interesting, but why did I decide to talk about it? Well, I decided to talk about it because there has been such an increase in tourism to Colombia, and here comes, that airlines have decided to expand their routes, create more routes, new routes, more flight options, more competition, probably will drive some prices down. So I think that's pretty awesome. I've noticed that they've added some flights here in Armenia already. Copa, there was a time, well, wasn't that long ago, they didn't fly in here. And then they had one day. They got three or 4 days now that they fly in here. So I didn't go and research. I mean, I just happen to know that. I didn't go and research to see the expansion, but in this article, they talked about the airlines and how they're putting on some significant number of flights, particularly back and forth from Europe. I think in Spain, Colombia is becoming even more popular. And I know Colombians here, one of the places, if you could go to any place on the planet to visit, where would you go? It usually begins with the United States, but recently you're seeing more and more people put Spain at the top of their list. They can go, they can speak the language, they can relate to a lot of the history, a lot of the culture, although it is very different, but there's enough there. It's not all that expensive to go there. And so it's only natural. So you're going to see more flights. And that's pretty damn awesome. I guess it doesn't really matter to me. I have no intention of ever leaving unless I absolutely have to for some reason. And then I'll get back as fast as I can. I mean, like I said, where would you rather be than right here, right now? I love it here, and I don't even want to cross over the border. However, if I do, it's nice to know that I'm going to have a lot more flight options in and out of Armenia, for example. There's any number of flights I could catch now. And let's see, we got never had issues with dogs in Colombia. Even the cats are so friendly. Yeah, I got to think about cats. They just have this FU attitude. Just, yeah, I'm not a fan of cats. Although I will say, they're delicious in tacos. Not that I would ever do it, but I lived in a place in Asia that was a civilized country, one of the most in the world. And there was this place called, how cliche, it was called Charlie's #1 Tacos. And everybody laughed about it. It was in Japan. And this place had the most amazing tacos I've ever had anywhere on this planet. The tortillas were handmade. They were fried up so that they were crispy, but they were never greasy. It was lots of, I like them with lettuce and tomato. I like them like that style. The meat was delicious. It was crazy good. And when I was living in Tokyo for a while, there were a couple people that I met up and became friends with, and we would go out on certain days or certain nights. And we always would go there to meet up and grab a taco and an Orion beer, an Orion beer. And it was great. And then we'd go from there and we'd hit the massage parlor because, I mean, it's not like you think. I know what you're thinking, but it was like, this whole traditional Japanese thing. Then you come out feeling like a piece of spaghetti. And then we'd go hit a couple bars. And later we'd go get Kobe steak for dinner. And it was a great time. We did it at least once a week. Well, one day we meet up at Charlie's Number One Tacos and they're closed. And it's like our heart sank. It was crazy. We loved that place. You couldn't eat inside. You had to get it from the window and then you kind of walk around. Well, talking to one of the locals, and back in that time I could actually speak Japanese pretty well. And talking to one of the locals, he was shut down because it turns out that he was turned in. All the neighborhood cats in an ever expanding area were disappearing. And cats were pretty popular and they were disappearing. And then one day they found the remnants of skinned cats in a dumpster. And they tracked it to him. Seems they have a Charlie's Tacos in Okinawa. Yeah, not the same place. It was Charlie's Number One Tacos. And yeah, it's kind of a generic name there, but I actually, that place has been there forever, but that's not the place. Anyway, he got arrested because it's not legal. And it was probably a month or so later, he got out and the place opened up again. I don't know how long. I'm thinking it was maybe a month or so. And so we started going back. They were never the same. It was, they just never were as good. And so I've always thought that there's a place for cats in this world, even with that crappy attitude. Okay, now all you cat lovers, I sincerely apologize. Sincere. Okay, I meant that sincerely. To apologize. All right, Rob, hello from Fort Lauderdale, tuning in late. Bruce, how you doing? I know a little about the rain in Spain. Did you ever taste the cat taco? Yeah, that's my step half something brother. Welcome. NB, let's see, yep, mention that one. Finally has Land O'Lake half and half and heavy cream. I'm overjoyed. Yeah, that's something. It's one of those things that come and go. I've seen it in PriceSmart for years, but then you go and it won't be there, and it might not be there for a while, and then it'll be there again. But you find substitutes here. You have to go through a few things to find the taste that you're looking for. In the United States, you get heavy cream, and they're all kind of similar, if not the same. It's hard to tell the difference. Here, as just an example, you'll get one that kind of has a flavor of a barnyard, and then you'll have one that's flavored more like what you're familiar with. You have all in between, and some will have this weird taste that we're not familiar with it. And people here, that might be one of the favorites because maybe they grew up with that particular taste. So there's a lot more variation, which means you have a lot more to kind of sift through to find. But I'm always able to find substitutes. Also, something else that comes up a lot is people will complain about they can't find a particular food like English muffin was one I seen recently. Got an English muffin, and it was so disappointing because it wasn't what he expected. Every food that you love, particularly if you're retired, learn to make it. American bacon's everywhere. It's not a problem. The traditional Colombian bacon kind of sucks to our taste, but I have absolutely no problem finding smoked American bacon right here in town. Zeno makes one. Zeno makes the Colombian style, but they also make the American bacon style. You can get thin sliced and thick sliced, and of course you can always go to Price Mart and you can get all kinds of Maple Leaf, U.S. brands, and that kind of thing. But what I suggest to people is if you really crave a food, learn to make it. YouTube will teach you. There's no reason not to. There's a lot of things that if I want it and I want it to suit my taste or satisfy an urge, I'll make it. Root beer was an exception because you need some things for that. But like garbage plates, where I'm from, garbage plates is a thing, and if you saw it or you hear about it, you don't know why, but there is a particular taste that brings back all kinds of memories, 2:00 in the morning memories, and every so often I crave it. Well, I learned how to make the hot sauce, the hot hamburger sauce, and all of the things that go into a garbage plate, and so I can make it and I don't miss anything. Have you been at the farmers markets in Armenia where local farmers bring their home? There is one. It's in the south. I've never been. I know of it. I know where it is. And I've been seriously thinking that maybe this month I'll go and do a video there. Mike, if you're on, I know you live relatively close to it. Next time you go, give me a holler. Maybe we can go there together. And so I can talk about it because I've never done that. Now you have stalls like down in El Centro where you'll have stalls with fruits and different things, but the actual farmers market, it's really big, and it's probably the best price for meats and veggies in all of Armenia, and it comes right from local sources. So it's funny you asked that. I've been thinking about going. It's just it's out of my beaten path, and there's so many places I can go to get what I want. Prior, I've just never felt the urge, but for the sake of a video, I think it's time I did something. Be cool to visit. Yeah, well, I'll do that. You'll probably be seeing it before the month is out. I'll probably post it up as a separate standalone video rather than bring it into Coffee Time. I try to put as much as possible into Coffee Time Live because I hate editing, as you know. I mean, I really dislike editing. And every time I make an actual video to upload as a separate video, it takes hours of editing. And I mean, who wants to sit and do something that you're not really enjoying? I don't think I'm that bad at it, but I could be much better if I actually had interest in editing. I'm pretty quick at it, considering I've been doing it for years, but I've never enjoyed it. And other people, some people like working on an assembly line, and that's what it seems to me. It is a creative thing, and I know there's people that love editing. I just really don't. It's so time consuming. And, seriously, I'm on the, back nine of my life. I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time, during the week doing things that I'm not really enjoying. What's the point? I don't have to. So I incorporate a lot of things into Coffee Time Live. For example, the choppy, screwed up video for a particular reason that I did going to Coffee Time. I actually could make that into an 8-minute video, that would be rather interesting. I've done lots of videos like that. But I decided just kind of throw something together and put it up. You get a sense of it. It was only a minute or so. No point in dragging it out. Now, if I did make it as a standalone video, I'm showing a lot of things around me as I travel there, which if you're coming here, you've been here before, you can kind of orient yourself. I've had a couple viewers that like those kind of videos because they get on Google Map and compare it with a video, and they'll walk it on Google Map as the video is going, and they can do a bit of a layout. It seems like overkill, but I get it, and they'll do a layout on the map, and then when they come down here, it's like they've been here before, because I've walked all over Armenia, so they got maps with all kinds of things that they're familiar with. It's, as you know, you can dial in Google Map and blow it up and do a 360 and look around. So it's pretty cool. How do you get rid of bed bugs? Found one yesterday on my couch. Well, we don't have that here, or at least never had them, never seen it, never heard of them. I'm sure they're probably somewhere. Like if you came to visit me, you probably bring them in your suitcase. Next thing you know, I'm burning mattresses. And that's what I would do. If I were you, I would take that couch out, burn it, burn everything that you own, maybe even burn the house down, get on an airplane, fly down here, and spend your retirement years here. Now, this is kind of silly. He lives in upstate New York, and he plans on being there. And for the life of me, I can't understand why he would want to, except he's never been here. Now, he didn't come to visit me in Cuenca, Ecuador, but I can certainly understand why he wouldn't want to live there. I mean, I don't want to live there. Although there's a lot of cool things. It's beautiful. I gave him the official tour. We got up on the tour bus on the top floor that's open to the air, rained half of the time. And we went around all over the place. We did some cool things and, had a good time. But to live there, it's a different thing. But living here, whew, it is way better than where you're living. And you're living in one of the best areas of New York. He lives out in the country. We're country boys at heart, to be honest. Motorcycles and horses and guns, and that's always been our life. Although his life for the past, I don't know how many years, has been inside the cab of a truck. Okay. Anybody here know anything about bed bugs in Colombia? You ever heard of them? I mean, I suppose they're everywhere. Cockroaches, no, that's another thing. Those little tiny ones. When I was in Provenza, that was my first apartment here in Armenia. I lived there for 2 years. And I lived right next door to the elevator shaft. And all the way down in the basement was where the garbage chute would dump into the dumpsters. And it brought in some cockroaches, and they climbed up the elevator shaft and into the back of my cupboards. And it took about 3 months to get rid of them. And I was able to get rid of them, and they did something down there to stop it. But I picked up on it real quick. I only saw a couple and freaked out. Well, anyway, never ran into them in Santa Marta, Pareto, or Medellin. Yeah, I would think that Santa Marta, if they're going to be here, that might be a place just because of the climate. It's humid, it's hot. So it's good to know. And most of us that are here, at one point or another, we've all stayed in some questionable hotels in our travels around, because you don't always know. And you get in these places where the hot water is wired up and you got raw live wires hanging in the shower. I know some of you are laughing right now because you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's like, okay, I'm never going to stay here again, but I could sleep till morning and I'll get by. I just paid $4,000 less than a year ago for that couch. Well, it's a damn shame. Maybe it came with the bed bugs. Maybe that's how you got them. But here's the thing. If you were here, you probably could have bought that same couch for maybe $1,200. You know, so there's that. And you wouldn't have got bed bugs delivered with it. Okay, how are we doing? Well, we run the hour. I got a Bills game to go catch. We're going to tune it in on Cody. And go Bills. Where would I rather be than right here, right now, and all that. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. We had quite a few viewers at some point. And as I droned on, I see them clicking away. Sorry, get into my stories. The contributions I got today, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Enjoy the game. Thank you. I thank you guys. You make my day. And I'll see you next week. Ciao.
Oh,